I hope I am busy. I am audible to everyone.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So just while we wait for other participants to join, just hold on. I hope my screen is visible to everyone. Uh, yes. So we are not talking. We'll just wait for 2 more minutes. Please hold on. I hope I am audible to everyone. I'm audible.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for confirming. Just wait for 1 more minute and we will start. Okay, let's start. Give me a second. Hello, everyone. So I'm Renu Mehta, and I have recently joined BOD and I'm handling this professional development. So most of you, if you were there last time, Shikha mentioned that I'll be taking over the role from her. So this is my first session with you all. So I welcome all of you. Thank you so much for joining. Let's start with today's session. Okay. So today I'll go through the quick agenda over here. Give me a second. I don't know why this my screen is giving a problem. Give me a second. I'll just quickly open my PPT again. So this is our agenda. We all know we'll start with the introductions. We'll introduce our speaker. Today we have Mr. Mangesh Kakade. Welcome, sir. Welcome for this session, and thank you so much for accepting this offer. Then let me introduce Mr. Mangesh. So uh, today our speaker is someone who doesn't, just manage projects as I have been seeing his profile and all. What I see is he has spent over 20 years actually making critical decisions in, high pressure environments. So he's currently the Deputy General Manager at Endress Hauser India and has also led major project portfolios at Emerson and L&T. So working across sectors like oil and gas, water, and industrial automation. What's really impressive is his professional journey that he holds. The complete PMI elite quartet, PFMP, PGMP, PMP, PMOCP, something very few professionals globally have achieved. And on top of that, he is also a Six Sigma Green Belt. So, but beyond all these credentials, what stands out is his real world experience. I would say someone who has worked with gut feeling and over time built structured decision making systems. So, today he is here to share that journey with all of us. So, welcome, Mangesh, and I hand over the session to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Hope I'm visible and audible as well.
Yes, yes, thank you. Please go ahead.
Okay, so let me share my screen. So once the screen is shared, just let me know.
Yes, it's visible. Maybe you can start with well, yeah, slideshow. Correct.
Okay, slideshow is there. Okay, great. So as thank you, Ren ma'am, introducing me, the great welcome by PMI Mumbai chapter, and also congrats you for your new role. So let's all this PMI community start this journey. We share our knowledge, we exchange the conversations. This will help us to grow together, right? So all leaders, professionals who have joined today's webinars, welcome. So as you see, the topic is quite interesting. It's decision making modeling, and as I said, I'm also working professional like you. So all these thought process or experience which I'm going to share, it's purely based on the professional experience what I have gone through in last 2 decades. So it's more about with the help of structural modeling, various experiences I have gone so far. So it's more about the sharing of the various uh, examples, sharing of various risk, what I personally have gone through, and from these are the various models, and of course the foundation is various certifications which I have did. So having various design aspect during these certifications, I have curated all these fundamental modeling for us. Okay, so let's go. So let me start with the one quick story which you can see on the screen. Let's start a story of a king who is just riding in his dense forest, and its passion is hunting. So while moving in the forest, he see one deer quietly having his water on the bank of the river. He raises his bow and he's about to just shoot. And then suddenly he saw one tiger is coming from the dense forest and he's also eyeing on the deer. And then, as usual, the dilemma start. There are the three voices come from his mind. The first voice, the ego, the warrior. Let's kill the deer. Let's follow the tradition. Let's be what king's supposed to do over the years. The second voice, of course, let's be the hero. Let's be the empathetic person. Save the poor. Shoot the arrow towards the tiger and kill him. Let the people make a praise for king. He has saved the deer and he has be empathetic towards the animal. And third voice, of course, a systematic voice. Who am I? Who has given me the authority to interfere the jungle law? And then he thought, let's not do anything and let's be the law followed by the jungle. I will not interfere anywhere. If the tiger today catches the deer, it's his food. And if deer escape from the tiger's catch, it's his passion to save his own life. So he has done nothing at that moment. So doing nothing is the decision by the king, or not acting is the decisions. Maybe the dialogue with the everyone's choices. We face so many situations in our life, what to do, which kind of decision we should take through our ego, to the empathy, or to the system point of view. And it's again a contextual. And with this context, we need to understand various thinking pattern, various emotions which runs at that moment of the taking a decisions, the turbulence which happens in our stomach. We need to understand all those decisions, and we're going to talk about this going forward. And interestingly, this is the very long topic which I have curated over last 3 4 days, and then me and Reddy madam thought, "Ki, okay, this cannot be covered in 1.5 hour session or 2 hour session." And interestingly, we come up with the two part of this session of this particular discussion. Like there is a quite buzz about Dhurandhar 1 and 2, and then we thought we will launch part 1 today, and part 2 maybe Renu madam will decide at the end of this session when we are going to launch part 2. So part 1, what we are going to discuss? We are going to discuss whenever we are deciding what kind of emotions which runs in our mind, which runs in our heart, which runs in our body. And before making any act, are we thinking with respect to the some modeling process? This is not any science, but this is something about the self-emotional control. This is not something we are going to talk about the NLP session and talking to emotions, not like that. This is purely contextual to the corporate language, corporate world. There is nothing spirituality behind these discussions today. Okay. So central question is again, whenever we are making any decision in our corporate life. So maybe decisions taken by the 5 years experience engineers, 10 years experience project managers, or any 20 years project director who has to look after the entire system, entire portfolio. So with respect to the context, with respect to the experience of individual persons, we will see how these decisions will be taken. Okay. Now before going this, let's take a analogy of the story what we just I shared a king, and correlating to this story, take an example of any construction project director who is just finishes a working day and going to the his resident. And next day, some critical cement pour is supposed to be planned at one construction site. And he knows that since last 2 weeks, customer is behind him, the schedule is delayed, and his team is working since last few days just to catch up the scope and with all the quality aspect, with all the scope aspect. And then on the way, site supervisor calls him and they says, "Okay, sir, there is a likely probability of rain tomorrow. So what should we do? Should we postpone tomorrow's concrete plan or should we continue?" So same things. The three voices comes. The warrior, the ego part, the project director would think, no, 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 we are already delayed. Customer is already yelling at me. I cannot afford to again postpone something. Let's do this. Let client handle the situation. I don't bother. The second part, empathetic part, director may think my team has worked since last 3 days, 4 days to prepare all these concrete part. They have done all the qualitative aspect. They have examined the site and they are about to do. And if they do this and the rain comes, the entire efforts will go waste. Let's be empathetic about the team. We can handle the customer complaint. Let's postpone it. And the third part, the system part, the overall system part, he's saying, what is the data available with me? What is the probability of the rain? What is the pattern of the weather which has been following since last 1 week? Although the data is coming as the rate probability is 50%, 60%. So should we continue or should I ask my team to prepare and then wait tomorrow morning and see the weather? And of course, while making this decision, he would not make a decision alone. He would have called his site supervisor and anyone from the construction team to make this decision. And then, of course, with the cumulative discussion, they arrive at a decision. Prepare the site, prepare your all the construction material, be ready. If rain doesn't come, we'll proceed. If rain comes, the worst part, the risk part with your construction material will go waste, or maybe you can adapt some changes in this so risk will be minimum. So with all these three different stage, they have given a thought process which decision has to make. And the same way we are going to talk on all these aspects of the decisions, which parameters needs to be taken consideration while making your decisions. So let's move on. So whenever we make a decisions, you can see this image. The left side is something a raw emotion which generate when we make a decisions. The right side is a business signal which will arrive when we put the examination filter in between. Now let's talk about the each some emotions. These are certain emotions I have just put it here for the explanation. There may be more emotions, but in totality, in context to the our professional life, these are main dominant emotions generate when any kind of decisions we need to make at our workplace. The first emotion is something, the fear. The fear, maybe fear of judgment, fear of some risk which we cannot see, fear of making decisions and turning it wrong, something like that. So thus the fear is the one signal. And whichever signals are coming, these are our own emotions. We need to examine these emotions silently just to take the control of our own decisions, right? And having this emotion is not the wrong. These emotions will come. Being a human, these emotions will definitely come. So second emotions may be a frustration which gives something a repeated failure, the workload, something the scope is getting added, time is not given qualitatively to complete those tasks. So this is the frustration, and frustration lead to some sort of a one word is called JCB. If we don't properly handle frustration, it will turn to the JCB. JCB is something called as a justifying continuously, cribbing for the problem, and B something blaming, create the blaming culture. So if we don't handle this frustration with the proper emotional control, this will lead to the JCB situation in the organization. And third is something about the pride. Pride is always comes with the ego. Maybe a very senior guy who have been professionally experienced handling a similar kind of situation, many cases, similar times. So decision definitely comes, okay, do this way. That is the perfect directions, what I'm telling you. So this sometimes gives the overconfidence. Renwan, if you just let me know in between. Can I proceed?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, please proceed. Everything is good right now.
Okay, means there is some little warning coming on my screen ki network is unstable. So if something is not audible, just ping me in between. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, okay. So I'll continue. So third signal is something like a pride signal, which basically comes with the ego, comes with the over experience with the similar kind of domain function, and we normally believe on our gut feelings. So this basically gives the overconfidence. And something about the urgency. Urgency always create the noise. It always comes with the escalations. It always comes with the time sensitivity. And many times, these kind of decision we let it to the superiors. Okay, you tell us what to do. We don't question. We don't question with the data. We don't question with the outcome. We don't question with the who is going to act. Whether they have the bandwidth, they have the competence, nothing. Whenever this kind of situation comes, decision has to made under the urgency situation. We normally tend to take the advice from the superior. Okay, you tell us what to do. So will all these raw emotions, if we put a proper filter, it will give us some business signal. So fear will give us some signal about the risk. So we'll talk about the risk. We know all the framework about the risk in the project management area. What is the calculate risk? What are various parameters to have the qualitative analysis, quantitative analysis. So if we consciously see what I'm getting fear and what it's leading. Frustration is again if something is repeatedly not working out, maybe there is a root cause issues about the process, technology, system, people. So we need to fix that at a root level. Pride is giving the signal is about something ego, overconfidence, uh, expertise in certain amount. So if this decision is not taken with respect to consensus of the another three, four stakeholder, this decision are going to sometime toss and this will lead the organization to the one directional decision only. And again, urgency, we'll talk about some framework about the urgency, how this urgency has to be considered as some signals about the time sensitivity and how do we prioritize those urgency. So here it will give a signal of the systematic prioritization of those tasks. Okay, we'll move forward. The filter, the first design part of any emotion is to apply the filter and applying the filter, understand the business signal. Moving forward, all these, the second aspect come as the DNA architecture on the emotions. So we have seen the four emotions. I'll just keep scrolling up and down. Fear, frustration, pride, urgency. So if we put all these emotions on the left hand side of the this architecture, there will be various waves. At the same time, we can experience all these emotions. And if we do not put these emotions in this architecture, again we'll get confused. As we say, fear, there is a risk probability, pride or overconfidence, there is a signal giving us the something about the overconfidence. So let's talk about each individual component in this DNA architecture. So we need to first understand in that particular decision context, do we have some expert input and data available to make certain decisions? So again, there will be a question needs to be asked. Like we have learned 5 why question technology. So we need to keep asking about the 5 why. Do we have a data? Whether that data has come from the authentic source, and do we have some bias on that data? If somebody is questioning on the validity of the data, or somebody is questioning on the authenticity of the data or not, if these are being addressed, we'll have certain amount of the information available with us. Based on this, the decision can be taken. The fear can be minimized since we have some data with us. Second parameter is something about the emotional minimization. This is again with respect to the experience, with respect to the hierarchy in the organization, again with respect to the how much you practice the emotional intelligence with respect to your own behavior. Like we always say, ki in angry we don't need to shoot the emails. This is the common we have been learning from our initial days of our professional career. In the similar way, whenever there is some high stake meetings happens, there are a lot of debate happens, and in those debate, sometimes we take a decisions, and those decisions are out of ego or out of victim. Like I said, some urgency has been shown by some superiors, and it's just a dump on us. And then emotional, if we are not concrete at our end to question key whether that is possible, and some emotional at a higher level, if I'm just dumping some instructions to the team, this has to be done. So at both end, the person who is giving the instruction and the person who is receiving the instruction, how stable they are emotionally. The person who is giving the instruction, whether he has pause and think, okay, whether I'm giving a decisions, whether I'm giving a instruction, whether it's practically possible or not, or whether I'm just giving the instruction based of my out of my ego. So these are certain DNA we need to apply at the both the end when I'm receiving the instructions and when I'm giving the instructions. Third is something about the crisis management. Like we have seen the first parameter like urgency. So in this urgency, this what kind of decisions we need to think in the crisis management, we need to ask the question various kind of why questions. If this goes wrong, what would be the plan B, plan C? If this is need to be applied now, what are the impact we need to take approvals, like uh, certain projects are getting delayed and we need to manage that crisis. So what can be done as a plan B, a plan C, plan D? And if plan B needs to be implemented, what kind of approval required, what kind of additional support is required from the higher ups or maybe from external stakeholder, what is required? It needs to be bring on the table, it needs to bring on the paper, and then that needs to be discussed. So that crisis management has to be discussed among the stakeholder so that the urgency can be made in a better manner and can be make systemic prioritization. There can be 4 crises at the same time in the meeting room, and then everybody will have the prioritization, and then we'll start uh, mm, having some model on the prioritization as well. So this first aspect is about the put the filter, put the architecture, what has to be done on this particular decision, whether it's needs the expert data inputs, whether it needs the emotional regulation, whether it's needs to understand from the crisis point of view. And of course, when the decision is made, the next factor comes when the decision is made, how we are monitoring those decisions. Because when the decision is made, every decision will have its own cost. Either it will fail or it will succeed. If it's failed, how long we can continue with that failed execution? Do we have any opportunity to come back to take a U-turn? Or if it's not, so here it comes to me certain angle ki, okay, whether the speed is required, whether the decision is irreversible or reversible. So this angle will come while making these kind of decisions. Okay. So third comes to be as some decision landscape which comes from the filter and the DNA structure. So these are the four quadrant which basically apply on the based on the logic and the parameter which we need to consider which quadrant we need to give a proper thought while making the decisions. The first quadrant is something about the agility or alternatives. What we say, okay, do we have plan A, B, C or not? So agility nowadays we have been moving very fast. We need to make a faster decisions, and at the same time, the decisions while making decisions, do we have adequate data to make the decisions, or are we waiting for the 100% accuracy of the data to make that decisions? So first parameter is something about the speed and certainty. If I need a speed, do we have adequate data? If that decisions, if I'm going to take, that is reversible or irreversible. If that is reversible, I can take a risk of 70% data available with me and I can go ahead. But that decision is irreversible. I cannot, once the decision is done and once it is implemented, once it is executed, that kind of situation, we need to have 100% data accuracy and that data has to be biasly validated among the stakeholder. So here agility will not work. Here the execution of that understanding of the decisions will be weighted more, whether that decision will be reversible or irreversible. And of course, the pattern of a person who always think whether I have plan A, B, or C, or always we go with only plan A. Do we have cultivated that habit? Like we project manager, we always uh, started our professional journey to create a various kind of project plans, plan A, plan B, plan C, and various um, crisis management and the critical path method. We have understand which critical path method we have to go, plan A, plan B. So we have been habituated and we have been practices to identify plan A, plan B, plan C whenever we can have this kind of decisions making. So this again based on the individual experience, based on the individual expertise in that particular domain or not. So this first quadrant is something about the agility and alternatives. The second quadrant is about the risk and reality. As we have seen the various risk model in project management areas, qualitative model, quantitative model, and based on these models, what it gives the signals to me, what are insight for me available, can I make a intelligent decisions? And again, if that decision is failed, what is the failure data available for me to make that data as an input to the process testing or some people, so that next time in similar kind of situation happens, this will be a data for us, as we have been uh, seeing lesson learned sessions in various kind of project management areas. So whether we'll able to generate some data from that failure, so that that will be a data for my next projects, that will data for some next kind of launch, that can be data for the people training. So that kind of documentation or that kind of probability is available for that decision or not. Third is always logic and control. We see whether we have data is available, the emotions are controlled, what are the crises in terms of the prioritization, priority one, two, three. So this is something about it comes from the logic. And fourth is always once the decision is made, what are the various factors available for us, whether we can correct those decisions, whether there is a probability to take a U-turn, and if there is no U-turn, if that decision is executed, what are the various factors, what are various resources, cost, time, all these segments which we can apply to correct that decisions. Because every decision will not turn out to be a correct, some decision will be wrong, and whatever the decisions we are getting corrected or whatever decisions are being wrong, that will be monitored in the organization, and based on the overall aspect, the personality will be perceived. What kind of decision this person is making, even though the wrong decision is made, whether this person is monitoring those decisions and accountable for that wrong decision or not. The decision is made is not something okay, I have done, and because of this is been done. And then again, for the wrong decision, the blame culture, the JCB culture should not be invoked. We have to regularize our own emotional control, and out of 10 decisions, 3 decisions might go wrong, 7 decisions may go correct. And this will build your own perception, own visibility, what kind of adaptability of that person is having in the organization, who is really thinking from the data point of view, who is really thinking from the emotional control point of view, who is really having always plan ABC at his plate or not. So all these aspects will be monitored in the organization way forward, whatever kind of decisions happen. So in short, we'll just scroll to and fro. The first is talk to our own emotions, apply some exemption filter. If that exemption filter gives you some business signal, put those business signal into the architecture. From this architecture, we will come to understand which particular segment we need to dwell too much, whether data, emotions, or prioritization, or the corrections after the executions. So this will help us to navigate our own decision-making process. And third, of course, the various four angles. And these four angles, maybe some decisions are taken based on the own experience over the period of time. Some decisions require the stakeholder discussions among three, fours, and so far. And what kind of situation, what kind of model, what kind of thought process is required, we'll take it further when we talked about some modeling part. Okay, but this is the foundational part about the emotions, about the structure, about the filtering part. Okay. Now, out of these four parameters, let's take one one example, typical example. Let's say one in IT industry, one some cloud migration vendors needs to be fixed, and the procurement team has taken the three codes. They have evaluated, and now one of the vendor has to be selected, and he needs to be deployed on the project, and the execution needs to be start. And the typical timeline, let's say the one vendor will start execution, this will go run for the 6 months. And now the decision has to be made by the, let's say, procurement guy and project director, or maybe a client side. So first, the procurement guy may invoke the fear. I have all three vendor with me, but there are multiple data. One vendor is good at budget pricing. One vendor is good in terms of the credibility, technical, strong in the that industry domain. Third vendor may have some strong in terms of the compliances. So there may be a different of data available on that procurement guy. So he may suggest, okay, based on the requirement prioritization, he may suggest if budget is this, I'll go with this guy. As a project director, that project director may start thinking, okay, what is required? Whether compliance is more important, or the technical depth is more required to complete this job within the 6 months. So if I go with the agility aspect, maybe the vendor is not 100% getting checked box in all the 10 parameters, 7 parameters are getting checked. I'll go with that vendor because it's required. There's a 6 months gap is there. If something goes wrong, we can always add some new resources, new some software debugging, so that can be finished. So default point of view, in agility parameters, it always says don't wait for the 100% data. If you want to operate at the 70% data and the decision is reversible or can be corrected in future, go with the agility. Don't wait for the 100% data. Risk is something we are taking the known risk, and we know if these decisions are going to be taken, this cannot be corrected in future. If this can be corrected in future, go for that calculated risk. logic is always don't succumb to the somebody's influence. If some client is pushing you, okay, I only want to go with this vendor, or some superiors are pushing you, we only go with this kind of this. So what logic says, if even though we cannot able to convince, at least we should have a data, we should have a negotiation parameter with us, ki why these decisions are being made. Maybe this can be recorded, maybe this can be uh, having a circulated in the minutes of meeting. So at least as a one person, if you are making a decision, at least you have a logic why the decision are being made. And once the execution is done, once the sign off is done on that decisions, just of the time. Maybe similar kind of experiences will build the similar kind of pattern, similar kind of data for the organization and for the yourself. Once that decision is done, as a person, don't just forget that incident, okay, how that decision has been made on and which kind of circumstances the decision has been made. This is for the organization and for the person as well. So over the period of 5 years, maybe we will develop the pattern, okay, 30% of decisions can be taken based on the data ability, 30% of decisions can be taken based on the risk. So these four parameters will help us to build our own power to make our own decision based on the emotion, based on the some structure, based on the business signals. So this is not something a default we are talking about the DNA part, we are talking about the design part, and everything will be somewhere you will be record in terms of while making a decision, because all the corporate decisions, all something bigger decision is always recorded through emails, always recorded through some sort of minutes or some sort of the discussion points, right? We mainly talking about the context with some business decisions, not the emotional decisions happens on the day-to-day discussions, not something about the our personal life decisions, because this purely concept is something about the data, something about the fact, something about the real emotions at the time of making decisions. So concluding all these four parameters, agility, risk, logic, execution, every time some amount will dominate, we just need to think which consciously we need to choose, whether we need to choose risk, whether we need to choose the logic. And all of time will have to take it along. This is the infinite loop. Every time certain decisions may dominate to other. Sometimes risk will dominate, sometimes logic will dominate. But consciously we need to understand how I'm talking to my emotions, whether I'm taking the decisions out of fear or whether I'm taking the decision with the data and substantial logic, right? So moving part, so first part we have taught more about the emotions, more about the structure. The next part is structure lesson. We are thinking how we have been embedded ourselves as a person. So these are the three pillars mainly from the thinking point of view. So critical thinking mainly gives us, are we doing right? Design thinking tells us whether it will work for the people or not. And the system thinking is still whether this will work for the overall system or not. All has their different core focus, core element. Critical thinking mainly goes with evaluating the various information, doing the debate, doing the argument, checking the accuracy, bias, data. So there are the mainly element which is the critics. Like we said, the Bollywood critics, they mainly focus on the various parameters. On each parameter, they use the ranking. And based on that ranking of each element, they provide the outcome of the status of any movie. Okay, this is the 4 out of 5, this is 7 out of 10. So this is the parameter we will talk about, okay, how each element will help us to build our own critical thinking pattern. This is not for a decision, this is the our own way of thinking, how we think and how this will help us to make a decisions. So this is the main building blocks. I'll just quickly run through the each element of the critical thinking, design thinking, and the system thinking. So critical thinking is mainly the combination of 8 elements. So it's something about the whether we are clear about the purpose, why I'm making this decision, what is the purpose of this making decisions, to whom I'm making these decisions, what I need to focus, what is the outcome I need to focus, what are the information it's available with me, what is the various point of view available to make these decisions. Like various stakeholders are involved there. So have I taken the point of view from the each stakeholders? Do I have all the theories, patterns, history, risk available with me as a concept? What are the various assumptions are there and what could be risk go wrong? So all these 8 elements are there in the critical thinking. Whenever there are some crisis, this kind of thinking is need to apply to question all these each element. And when we are confident ourselves, okay, at least 70-80% questions are being answered from this various why. At least this will help us to gather the data. This will help us to understand the various risks. This will help us to gain the confidence from the various stakeholders while making the decisions. So this is a critical thinking pattern which we need to apply mainly into the crisis situation, mainly into the high stake decisions when stakes are very high. Second thinking pattern is something about the design thinking. Design thinking is always apply anything when we need to start something new, like starting a new project launch, starting the new product launch, or something starting a new SOP in your own organizations. So whenever something new we need to implement, this first needs to be empathize with the people, understand their need, their pain point, what are their emotions, whether why we want to apply this new strategy, involve them. So all the empathetic approach which is required to start something new. So all these element as a person, as a let's say you are a team lead, you are a part of that team. So how I am giving my thought process from this empathize point of view, whether I'm able to think why it is required, what are the various emotions, and whether all these emotions empathetically we are talking to those emotions or not. Once that is done, the second part comes as a define how this process, how this product launch will happen, how this new project will be planned. So all this definition part will come, and then once that is done, whether we can ideate something small test part. Okay, let's plan something, and once that planning is done, whether we can run some sort of simulation, maybe a Excel kind of simulation, maybe a kind of a thought simulation within the team, how this will be executed and how the outcome will become. And prototype is always something we build something as a test. We if we able to have some software simulation, or let's say a hardware some product launch are there, new product launch are there. So maybe many product company they first launch one prototype and they deploy in the market and they see the feedback how the results are coming. And once that is done, the final product is given for the testing and all this feedback have been taken care for the new product launch. So define design thinking is always a closed loop, is always an infinite loop. This will keep going on. Whatever you have empathize, whatever the final outcome come, that feedback will come into the system that will be tested, and again this will be added for the new feature enhancement, new feature SOP updations, any process if we have implemented organization, there will be always lesson learned, there will be always new modification in the some SOPs, some frameworks. So this can be applied to any kind of any documentation part, if any product launch, any project launch. So the core idea of the design thinking is we should able to understand ki the empathy should be there. We should have some thought process ki how this will be defined, how this will be tested, and if there are any feedbacks are coming, how this feedback will be giving as a input to the same process, and how this further will be more improved, more it can be taken to the next level of version. So this is about the design thinking. And third is something about the critical thinking. Critical thinking, system thinking. Third is the how holistically we are giving our thought process to think what are the various connections are there, whether I'm thinking the pattern which has been built in terms of making decisions. Like many times we have some expert opinions, they give us the inputs, these are the pattern. Is there any emergencies with respect to the implementation? Let's say in a overall organization we are trying to implement some new features, and the resources are scared. So if that is being implemented, what would be the impact on the another department? What would be the impact on the another system? What would be the impact on the some software which is being tested, or the software is under tested? What would be impact on the another software which is already in running conditions? So all this interdependency situation, whether we are giving a thought for the completeness or not. Many times uh, we always think in the organization ki, this is my boundary. I don't know to think what is happening in that department. Boss has given me this work, I will be go as per the task given to me. But as we go in the organization, if we don't build up the system thinking, we will not come out of that boundary. We will be always with the that particular department, that particular system, that particular projects. Maybe as I say, ki, I'm working on the project A, and while working on the project A, while building something, some product, maybe that product is helping to the project C. And if I'm not communicating internally in the organization, I won't be able to understand what that project C is happening. What if I can able to give some loop to the project C, that will help. But this again comes with uh, the experience we grow in a professional life, the thinking process. So the crux of this is all this thought process need to build gradually in the profession. When we are getting experience, we should understand ki what critical thinking required, what is the system thinking required, what is the design thinking required. These things are not required at the same time, but with a different situation, with a different context. If we are I'm able to connect, okay, now with this context I need to think from the system point of view, because there are the lot of element involved. Now I need to think from the design point of view, because something new is happening. I need to be more empathetic. I need to be more connected. I need to be more open to take the feedback. I need to know this will come. I need to do the rework many times. So this thought process once will come, we will control our own emotions. Okay, I know, okay, this product is under design phase. There are a lot of bugs will happen, a lot of warnings will come, a lot of feedback will come from the customer. So I'm prepared myself. Okay, a lot of rework has to be done. So this will help to settle our own emotions if I'm prepared with this kind of thinking process. So if I categorize the three process with in tabular format, as I said, critical thinking mainly help us to think ourselves skeptical way, evidence basis, logic driven. Design thinking help us to give us the curiosity, empathetic way, experimental approach in our own working style. And system thinking gives us the holistic pattern, thinking about the entire ecosystem, entire link which are connected to that decisions. So this is the mindset which will build over the period of time if we able to understand the core principle of individual thinking style. The key strength with each thinking process is like critical thinking help us to sharpen the risk analysis. When we questions many why, we immediately try to figure out what risk is there and how that risk can be analyzed. This will help us to reduce the error. Design thinking will help us to surface the innovation process. So if the person who is having more innovative, he will always think what new needs to be done, how this needs to be tested, what prototype can be done, what are the various feedback I can take from the external system, and how I can put it back to the same process and try to innovate, try to make it newer version of that system, hardware, any product, something like that. And system thinking is always gives to your capacity to go to the root causes. to connect various different dots, to connect various patterns. Like system thinking, we have seen in any kind of movies. If some murder case is there, they put various dots and they put various event and then try to connect various different dots. So that is nothing but the system kind of thinking. We are just trying to find a pattern. We are just trying to connect the various dot in the process. We are trying to connect the various dot in technology in the peoples. So if we able to inculcate this kind of thinking from the uh, professional life. So maybe at 5 years experience, I may not able to think about the system thinking point of view, but that system thinking has to be somehow need to improve, learn, practice. So by the year of 10 years, if something is needs to be discussed, let's say a board meeting is happening and some merger and acquisition is being discussed. And being a team lead of any functional, you have been asked, okay, you present me the business case from these three angles. What are various risks? What are the various department will be getting impacted while implementing this merger and acquisition? And what are the various empathetic thinking you would think about the resource deployment, new software deployment, integration of the various technologies? And if that moments by 10 or 15 years experience, if we are not practice all this process, all this thinking process, we will just keep on thinking in one directions. Mainly the way we have been experience our the past professional life, we will only having a dominance of that decision making. Okay, I have this experience, I have done my entire last 10 years, 15 years in this process only. So I'll produce the business case only with this thought process. And again, this will give you your professional competency ki what kind of thinking pattern you are applying when a business case is being prepared, right? So so far we talked about some emotional signals, we talked about some filters, we talked about some data structure, and these are the three critical thinking. We'll move on some human angle. The human angle about the social style of a person who makes the decisions. So you may be aware this is the MBTI DISC model. This model gives you the personality. This stands for the dominance, influence, steady, and compliance. This is the 2 by 2 quadrant, and this is being divided with respect to the various feelings, various emotions, and various tasks. So I'll quickly just explain each style, maybe based on experience, based on various trainings, you might be aware on this aspect. But to this context, so far we talked about the emotions, we talked about the various business signals, we talked about the system pattern. So maybe each person will have a different thinking pattern, because habit as a human being, we have been developed. Either a person is developed as a driver or person may be developed as analytical, and based on their personal development their thought process has been developed, right? So the the driver person, they are always dominant. They need the result. They don't care about the people, they don't care about the situation. They always think about, okay, I want the result. They are more dominant. The expressive peoples, they likes to connect the peoples, they like to have fun, and they always see bigger picture. Expressive peoples, but they also believe in the data. And the amiable persons, they are more harmony peoples. They also like the bigger pictures, but they are more about the people minded. They don't want to get into the conflicts. And also, while making a decisions, they always seek some validations while making a decisions. And as we know, analytical peoples, they always go with the compliance. They always need a more data. They always linger on the various option A, B, C, and then they take the decisions. And in the organization, we have all these kind of peoples. But the fact is not knowing the others. Fact is knowing about me, because we are talking about the improving our own professional competency with respect to the thought process, with respect to the thinking pattern, and with respect to the knowing our own self. So we need to understand who I am with respect to this context. So on the website, on the various portals, you will get disc assessment test. from this assessment test, you can derive your own personality. Only this test needs to be given very honestly. Almost 100 questions needs to be answered, and out of these 100 questions, they find the pattern ki what kind of thought process you are basically act in each situations. Maybe the test you might have given in January, the same result will not come in the August if you perform the same test, because all these 100 questions sometimes you answer differently. We don't able to recreate those questions, and every website have different combination of the questions, but at least it will give us the feel ki what kind of personality we can think ourselves we have, and this is our own self reflection of our personality. So having said that, let's combine everything together, combine the quadrant. We talked about the combining the thinking process and combining the data or decisions what we will take. So the driver personality, they will always move for the speed. They will be always agile. They will always, if option A is not working, they will push for the option B, option C. So they are primarily critical thinking persons. They always think from the all the critics' point of view. They are very skeptical. They are very biased, and they believe in the speed and actions. But at the same time, the fourth and fifth column is something what they overuse and what they underuse. They sometimes avoid the risk. Means they say, okay, let's make a decisions. Risk will come. Let risk come. So with the driver personality, it's always suggested, okay, if there are certain decisions is coming out of their own experience, their expertise, that needs to be validated within the team, or if that decision is making by some superiors, maybe some consensus with respect to data needs to be there. It's not, it should not be come from the gut feeling, it should not be come from the only ego factor, it should not come from the pride. If there's certain decisions are coming, it has to be validated through data. And as a team or as a maybe reporting, we need to somehow challenge with respect to decisions with the data. Maybe also we need to put ourselves in the critical thinking in their shoes, ki why this is being pushed. Second kind of personality is expressive. They are always believe in the exhibition, and they always believe in the people trust, people harmony. They always try to build relations. And as we say, these people are more inclined to the design thinking. They always try, test. If something is not working, they always go with the feedback. They don't hesitate to take the feedbacks. They always try to amend their feedback through their own improvement. So they overuse the people and momentum, and sometimes while doing so, they underuse some data logic or some sort of a factual inputs which needs to consider by decisions. But this is the pattern, and in all this table there is no right and wrong, because we have all this personality. We have all analytical ML personality, and they have all their system factor. We are just trying to understand from these slides ki who I am and what is the dominance thinking pattern, and what would be the overuse and what should do underuse. And emotionally, I need to understand ki where I need to pause, where I need to ponder, and where how do I need to take a decisions, right? So this is the same thing. Four different style. What they brings on the table. Driver people bring the speed and direction. Expressive people brings the energy and buy-in. Analytical people brings the evidence and these stuffs. What they challenge. Now the question will, based on the various functions, based on the various department in the organization, based on the various projects, we'll have all type of peoples. So as we grow in the organizations, we first need to understand ourselves, what kind of personality, what kind of thought process, what kind of emotions I build myself. And at the same time, emotionally, we also need to understand the team members, what kind of style the team member has, what kind of emotions are being generated at the making of decisions, and which are the pattern we need to carefully observe, which needs to be challenged while making decisions for ourselves and for the next selves, because we cannot have a combination of everything in one person. Like this is the ideal case. we want a person who should be 100% critical thinking, who should be 100% system thinking, who should be 100% design thinking. This may not be a real picture in ideal life, but we need to think which is more dominant thinking pattern for myself, which is the dominant pattern for the my team member, and how do I take all of this for my own decision making benefits. The decisions can be something because in the organizations we have all Gantt charts are ideas, RISC matrices are there, risk registers are there. Still, we need to be make decisions, and for the decisions, we are being known how kind of decisions are making, because every decision will have its own cost. If you are making a decisions, either you will regret, or you will have some data for your own implementation or own improvement. So how do you consider the decision making process for yourself? Are you regretting for the decisions, or you are taking the decisions for some futuristic success improvement, or are you getting paralyzed by making decisions? If continuous failures are happening, whether I'm getting a paralysis of those decisions or not. So far, this is the combination of all three, four various element with respect to the emotions, filtration part, DNA structure, the personality style, and three different system thinkings. So I'll stop here with respect to the first segment of these discussions, and I will run through some quick questionnaires based on these three, and maybe I'll what kind of thinking pattern you assess yourself. And these are all AI generated questionnaires I have curated based on the various giving the various input. Okay, I want this kind of a situation in the organizations, and this should trigger this kind of thought process, and what employee or what management member or any superior will think on this process. So based on these various prompt given to the AI tools, I have curated these 15 questionnaires for just for our own audience, just to understand the concept what I'm trying to explain here, and this will help to audit ourselves. Once this is done, we will break up for the Q&A session, and then we'll talk about the what next part two we are going to reveal. Okay. So I'll start the five questions in each slides. I will be there. You participant, you yourself, you can take a note at your end, or you can put in the chat box with respect to each questions. So there will be total 15 questions out of this context, and each questions has to answer from the range of 0 to 10. If you are honest with yourself, you can give the rating from the 0 to 10. So if one question, if we say ki in this situation, I will act 8 out of 10. So these numbers will be calculated, this will be summarized, and based on the summary part, the final, the combination of the answer which has been given, this will help us to give the our own maturity of the thinking process. How do we think in the organizations, or as a person, how do I think with respect to this course? So I'll just move on to the next slide, and I'll pause here for 5 minutes. Once that is done, maybe after 2, 3 minutes, I will move on to the next slides. If something is pending, just you can put on the chat box. This is not done, so I'll just go back to the slides. If someone is missed some questions, so in once that all 15 questions is done, everybody has given the okay on the chat box. So we will talk on the final results. So it is okay, Renu madam? It's 9:10 now. So I'm giving these questions. So hope this is visible to everyone. Uh,
Yes, yes. Yeah,
so
visible.
I'll be here till another 2, 3 minutes. So you can read these questions. So hope this is readable to everyone. Each words, because this is slightly I have squeezed in 5 questions in a single slides. So this is the self audit for yourself. Maybe in the chat box you can write something parallelly. I'll open the chat box at my end, but it will disturb the screen then. So I'll just avoid. Audience make a thumbs up if it's everything is readable and you are doing this. So at least I can engage with your reactions.
A quick question. I think should we give rating ourselves or note in our personal diary? Maybe we should
I mean,
give rating
you can
ourselves.
parallelly you can
Yeah.
yes you can parallelly note somewhere with respect to these questions. This question is just sequence from the 1 to 5,
So we
and
have to
then
rate 1 to 5, right?
1 to no, this we have to
One
rate
to
from
ten.
1 to 10.
Okay.
So presently, first 5 questions has been is on the screen now, and then we have to just sum up the all the 15 questions additions. So I will stay here another 1 minute, hoping you are reading the questions and each participant is giving a thought what kind of my answer, whether it's a 5 or it's a 7 or it's a 10. So, but just be honest. Means it should not be ideal. Okay, I will just put 10 out of 10 everywhere. Just be honest, because uh, we are not perfect human beings. We cannot have all the 10 out of 10 every situations. So shall I move to the next questions? Question number 6 to 10. Just give a thumbs up or something. So I will continue. So if anybody is left, just at the end, just give a chat box if some question is just left. So this is the question number 6 to 10. So shall I move to the next questions? Any thumbs up? Okay. So this is the question number 11 to 15. Done? Any 3, 4 thumbs ups? So at least we can assure many people have done this. Can I have few more thumbs up so at least we can understand many people have covered all 15 questions. Okay, so we'll go to the answer sections. So it is a self-assessment with respect to the answer. So if you are ideal and everywhere you are putting a rating of more than 8, this may not happen. Okay, because every situation we don't give the rating 8, 9, 10. So the impact is something if cumulative rating is some less than 80, we need to again educate ourselves with to understand which area we need to think more. Do I need to develop the emotional intelligence? Do I need to develop the critical thinking? Or do I need to develop the more risk assessment DNA while making a decisions? So maybe professionally, a person who is having, let's say, 5 to 10 years experience may have low score. The person who is having professional experience of in the range of 10 to 15 years may find himself, I'm good in between. Person maybe who is having more experience may think about the executive mindset. The approach is somewhere we always needs to be more than 100 in all the questionnaires. The questionnaires are basically extracted from some AI tools, giving the various prompt. Okay, these are the situation, this is the thinking pattern, these are the emotions generated while making decisions. Because as a human being, we are not uh, uh, ideal in all the three thinking process. We are not ideal while making the our own personality. Somewhere one personality will be more dominant, either a driver personality or American personality. So combination of all these things, emotions, personality style, thinking pattern will come into the integration while making a decisions. And when we make a decisions, cumulatively, we cannot have all, let's say, I cannot give 10 out of 10 to the each questions. Somewhere I'll be giving 5, somewhere I'll giving it 8, somewhere I'll be giving even 2. But addition between, as a professional, as a competent professional who is having some year of experience range, it's always something we need to increase. If anything less than 70, 80 is something it shows the immaturity of our decisions, it shows the emotional fluctuations, it shows the decision paralysis while making a decisions. If something in between, in the range of somewhere 100 to 120, this is the reliable professionals. Means always we think as a frequency means there is always think there is a attitude, altitude and frequency. Some moment you may not able to take a correct decision, but if over the period of time you have become a natural pattern of making a decisions. Means you always you a big picture thinking, you always be a critical thinking process, or there will always pattern will develop key, always risk will be assessment. all this will be all this will be parallelly check and parallelly will be developed in our personality. So this is the overall uh, s- summarization of this today's part one part, this process. Maybe we'll open for the Q&A now, and then what we're going to talk in the part two. Once we have finished the Q&A part, I'll just give a quick glance what we are going to talk in the part two, and when this part two session will be presented through the PMI movie chapters. Okay.
Yeah. So thank you so much. We have some questions.
Maybe I will stop the sharing now, and then I can open the chat box. If something I can converse in the chat, I can do that.
Yeah. I think we have few questions um, in the chat as well as in the Q&A window. So let's start with chat window. There were some questions like from Anita Mungekar. So system thinking you develop when you are there in the system for long time, or is it for even if you are in the system for a short time also we can do the systematic thinking? What would you say about it?
Okay. So system thinking is not about the system of the organization. System thinking is the capability of a thought process. Whether am I audible?
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Okay. So system thinking we talked about, it's not about the system of the organization. It's not the process of the organization, or it's not the department of the organization. It's something about whether as a thought process I'm giving a big picture while making a thinking or not. Let's say I'm a new in any organization. I joined department A, and 3 months timeline. I'm only limiting myself just to understand the department A. I am not giving a thought ki what happening in the department B, department C, what I am working, how this is affecting in department B and department C. So unless and until I am not able to connect this dot to the various department, my thought process will not evolve. I will be only limited to the one department A. As you progress in the organization, as let's say ki first 90 days, 1 year, 2 years, and after 2 years, if something needs to be re assignment needs to be given, or some collaborative project is coming up in the organization. So whenever this kind of discussion happens, and when you open up, and if you open your mouth and you only talking about your own department, and some questions are being popped up during the common meeting, and if you are not answering, okay, because of this implementation, this will impact department B. The client of department C will have this kind of questions. If you are opening this kind of a discussion, this will give the visibility to the other people's key. Okay, during the period of time, you have not only worked in your own department, but you have gathered some system thinking as well about the other departments. So this will help to give the next person perception about you कि okay, you are a person who think holistically, you are a person who think about the system, you are not only thinking about your own department. right?
So even if you are new, you should broaden up, I think, your mind and think beyond your department. It doesn't matter you are in the system or into the organization for a quite long time.
Right.
That is correct. Uh,
That's correct. So system
yeah.
thinking is a thinking pattern, not about the system of any
Hmm.
organization.
So, sir, the next question everyone always thinks about AI. So, there is a question from Muhammad Arif Ansari. It says, how do we see project management under the light of AI? Do you think it will make job easier for us to project manager? And how can we bring AI to our role?
Yeah, AI is always a new tool, new technology, and there are a lot of buzz is happening with every new one post on the LinkedIn. You are saying ki AI will not replacing the project manager, right? So in
Yeah.
all different industries, like construction industry, chemical, petrochemical, clinical research, there are different researches happening. So each project management, they are adopting certain progressive path to their industries. Like in last 1 year, many organizations have taken the Copilot as the license as their system integrator, right? So all these emails or their server has been incorporated, but still few organizations they are not taking the micropilot as their license co-host, right? And many of us now since last 6 months, maybe we have been trained ourselves for 6 months just to reframe the emails. We are not going behind the reframing the emails, but those who are actually using the AI, they are trying to see ki, okay, if Copilot is current to the emails, what are my top 10 activities, what are the escalations. There are various Excel sheets on the servers, integrating those Excel sheet, what are the insight from the Excel sheet, what are the POs you are doing, what are the various combination you want to try that can be tried through the AI. So these are various new learning is always coming. Like
Yes.
now, agents are coming. So how you learn those agent to give your knowledge database, and through that agent, what kind of output you want to draw? Because we have to learn, and the more you learn, you will more practice because this will not come on the plate.
Yes. Correct. And this also answers the question for Neeraj Kumar, who says in today's era when people and AI agents are working in parallel, how can we adopt our project management skills to say the experience and improve processes? So I think that's what you have answered. We keep on learning new tools. We keep on experimenting, I guess, and going beyond the emails, reframing the emails. That's
That's what I'm
what you
thinking. So
mentioned. I really liked it.
here is a design thinking concept comes. Like,
Yes.
so design thinking is something we always keep on trying something new. We will fail or we'll succeed. So whatever data we'll get, if we succeed, we'll go overwhelmed. Okay, I know this has worked. If something is failed, this is not work, right?
Yes. Correct.
Now there are the many people who are in the IT background. They are getting so many agent now. So every agent will work or not, we don't know. I also keep personalizing agent on the emails, on some my folder data. I'm creating agent. Okay, this is the customer library. You extract something. So every industry have their own kind of mechanism how to use AI tools. And the more you learn, more you will experiment.
Yeah. I hope this answers Neeraj's question as well. The next, there are a couple of questions from Satish Solanki. Maybe it may be related to this part one, or it could be related to part two also. So I'll just go through the question. The first question is about the agility. Which parts of this project are reversible? I mean, how does the change of our go no go threshold? What's the cost of waiting for 30% more certainty? And is it higher than the cost of small mistake?
See,
So
the
yeah,
agility is always fluid. Right. I'll answer this. The
yeah. Go
agility,
ahead, go ahead.
the by definition, it is always it's a fluid, right? And it's the individual choice about the agility. let's say you want to take a go no go decisions, and then you have evaluated all your risk parameter, and at one moment of time certain decisions is needs to be evaluated whether it's a reversible or irreversible. As we say, standard framework says if it's reversible and you have 70% data with you, make a decision, because as you grow in the organizations you are getting paid for your decision making only, because the first layer in the organization, first 5 years, 10 years, 12 years, 13 years, they are doing the executions, and as you grow in the organizations, if you are not making a decisions, then because you are becoming a decision fatigue paralysis then. So I would say personally ki make a decisions, know the ambiguity, know the risk assessment, know the reversible, as we always say the common metaphors. अगर रॉन्ग ट्रेन चढ़ते हो तो पता होना चाहिए कि अगले स्टेशन में उतरना है.
Okay, I think Satish wants to unmute. I'm not sure, Suzanne Tashar, if you can unmute Satish Solanki because he has a
Satish, you
long
can
list of questions.
maybe text your question here. I can read your questions parallelly.
Yeah, he has put in the Q&A window, if you can read it.
Okay.
There is a Q&A section in the more. Maybe he wants to
Okay.
explain it
Okay.
in a more better way, I believe.
So maybe we can unmute and we can
I'm
allow
not sure.
him.
Yeah, Sunil Tushar, if can we unmute or
think
Yes,
Satish?
you can unmute and we can continue. You
I
can
think
unmute
I am
Satish.
unmuted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you
Yes,
hear
yes,
me?
go ahead.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, go
yes.
ahead,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Satish.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mangesh, for this hosting this, and thank you, Renu, for coordinating. So basically, my questions are all related, or were specifically related to the slides that you presented, Mangesh. So when you spoke about the agility, risk, and logic and things. So I was just on the side by side, I was trying to type my questions. Okay. So these are all related you to the specific slide that you mentioned some time back. Okay. So these are specifically maybe correlated to the entire session that you have. And I am seriously this is a really appreciable and insightful session. So I thought maybe I can just add on to the value by posting my questions. So maybe it will give some meaning and understanding to the audience here. Yeah. So yes. So
Yeah,
the
go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. At least
yeah.
we will learn something new.
Okay, just one thing there, because the session is 9:30 and we are already at 9:30. Should we extend it for 10 minutes more if everyone is fine?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can extend 10
Okay.
minutes, so we'll cover
Sure.
up. Yes.
Okay. Sure. Thank you. Please go ahead. Please
Okay.
go ahead, Satish. Sorry to disturb you. Yeah.
Yes. So there's for the agility, on the second half of the question was what is the cost for waiting? Because you said we are 70% confident, right? Which is welcome. And we know we have to go for a particular project. We have to make certain mindsets depending upon the thinking, project, timeline, budget, resource, whatever it is. However, the 30%, which can sometimes overwhelm the 70%, what is the question is what exactly is the waiting for that 30% certainty, or the cost of waiting for that certainty?
Okay. See, if there is ambiguity, there are always some weighted average models are in the organizations, which we will cover in the part two. Whenever there is some high stake decisions and it involves some
Sorry, your
multi-stakeholder
voice broke.
influence, which let's say you are not sure about. Now it's okay.
Yeah, your voice was breaking
Satish,
a
am
little.
I audible
Yeah, yeah,
now?
better now. Yeah,
Yes,
go
sir.
ahead.
Better. Okay. Okay. I'll just. So the topic is the let's take a example ki you are saying ki 70% data is there and 30% is overwhelming data, and we want to make a decisions, right? So for the 30%, we need to see whether the multi stakeholders are getting influence, or whether the decision has to be taken by me own and I am accountable for the execution and result alone. If I am accountable, I'm the owner of the decisions. I will always try and put my efforts to make that decision correct and successful. But if in the organizations, many times the decisions are not only influenced to the single department or single stakeholder. This is always something, if something goes wrong, it will always influence the other person, and then the blame game will start. कि ये decision तुमने लिया था. So in this kind of situation, if 30% data is so overwhelming and so ambiguous, there is no clarity about 30% data. We always go with the weighted average method, which I will cover in the second part. But this is in the context of the very critical decisions, not the day-to-day kind of decisions which you're taking at your departmental level, right? If certain project has to be give some approvals on certain budget or some deviations, and you are the owner of those. So as a pattern, you have done the risk assessment over the year of time. You know कि if I make this kind of decision, this risk will come, and for that risk, I'm the owner, and I know how to address that kind of risk. If the risk is something external and you are not the person who can address that risk, then always the 30% will become more dominant. And for that 30%, we will talk about the weighted average method in the second part. This is some again a modeling part. How do we take the consensus from the various kind of stakeholder which are involved in the decision making process when you alone are not there.
Okay. Thanks for
Okay.
Mangesh. Understood.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I have too many questions. I posted too many questions, Mangesh. Within the span of 10 minutes, I don't think we should be able to, you would be able
But
to
no worries,
cover.
no worry. At least the questions which arises, at least it help you to ponder yourself. Okay, because while
Um,
when I'm making this session, I have also so many questions. 8 days,
Yes.
I have done so many slide modification here and there.
I
Because
understand.
this is also learning for me, and again, this the conversation session is learning for all our PM audience, right?
Maybe, Mangesh, what I feel is, in the interest of time for everybody,
um,
you can just copy these questions and maybe you
yes,
can post the answers into the collective WhatsApp group
group.
that we have. I think that
Yes,
will
Yes,
save
that will
time
be done.
and for everybody, and you'll also have a quick thinking on all these questions. Because on my second half of the question, there are seven questions. So in all, 11
Okay,
questions
okay.
I have posted. I'm sorry, but it is all part of the good session that you have done, and I'm trying to learn from all these questions, Mangesh, and I
so
appreciate your
Okay,
support.
okay, fine,
Thanks
fine,
for that.
fine.
yes. So Mangesh, and I think Anush Tiwari also have posted one or two questions. What I have done, I have taken the screenshots of all the questions and I will send it to you, Mangesh. You can then,
Okay.
one by one, you can answer it maybe in the chat group or maybe in the next session that we would be holding. Most likely, we will be holding the next session on the 25th of this month, the fourth Saturday into the PM forum. So maybe you can answer those questions in the next session as well, Mangesh. So that will be helpful for everyone
Yes,
over here. Yeah.
yes.
Uh,
So
Renu, I have
maybe
posted all these questions to your
Yes.
WhatsApp group that we, sorry, what the
Yeah,
WhatsApp
yeah.
chat
Even I
that
have
we
taken
have
the
earlier.
screenshots. Don't worry. Don't worry. I have taken all the screenshots of all the questions for everyone. Okay.
May I have also
Yeah,
posted
yeah.
in the WhatsApp chat that we have earlier.
Okay,
So
okay. No
you
worries.
can just copy paste it instead of typing the questions. But yes, thanks for the good session, Mangesh. Thanks for Renu for
so
coordinating.
before
Thank
closing,
you. Thank you.
like they shows ना धुरंधर की क्या आने वाला है. So I'll just show you what
Yeah.
will what will come. So I will just share the screen. So just let me know whether it's.
Yeah, yeah. It's visible.
So this is the second part, which we will cover various kind of decision models. Each model has their own modeling part, and combining this, how do we uh, take ourselves to the next level as a competent executive, as a experienced project managers who are growing in the organization or who are getting more matured in own professional career. So this second part we'll cover. So as Renu Madam suggested, this will be hosted on the fourth Saturday, uh, 11 a.m. Right, ma'am?
10 or 11, yeah. I think the timing is
Yes.
10 a.m. to 12 p.m., 2 hours. Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay. 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So that
Yeah.
will be there. Meantime, who have joined, maybe they can have some questions in between, so we can have some more engaging session.
Yeah. And just wanted to, before we drop off, just 2 minutes from you all. I'll just quickly share my screen, and I hope you are able to see my screen.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Yeah. Am I? Are you able to see my screen? I hope. No.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So this is Mangesh for this beautiful session, wonderful session. We will be sharing the certificate of appreciation for this session. So thank you so much for this. And lastly, I would say, yes, PDU is already mentioned over here. There was some confusion. So PDUs this time we have some technical issues. So we will be sending an email over here. So give us some time for the PDUs because we are into the transition period and we are still also into the learning processes. So I just need to check, how we create the PDUs and all. So give us some time, and most likely we'll be sending it as soon as possible for the PDUs. And yes, please do share your feedback. We all are, giving good thumbs up, claps over here, but we forget to write the actual feedback in the feedback link. So please do that. That matters a lot because again, as Mangesh said, the data be we should have some written form of data, right? So just putting the thumbs up and clapping is not helping. Please do give the feedback on our feedback link. So that's very important. And lastly, thank you so much for being a great audience. Anything else, please do reach out to me. Thank you. Anything else? Thank you. Thank you. Please, all of you who
Thank
are
you.
doing the feedback, please do it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye. Good night.